Welcome to part 3 of the 1951 H.C. Evans pushover. Well, without further ado, let's get into working on this thing. It's been abandoned for many years. Let's get this thing a little bit closer to being done. Okay, we need 2 zinc plates of metal. All of these pieces of metal were originally zinc chromite plated, I believe. We're just going to zinc plate them, but the reason I can't powder coat them or clear coat them or blue them like some people suggested is because, well, the bluing doesn't add thickness. The bluing just makes it the wrong color entirely. But clear coating or just powder coating adds thickness, and these parts interact with each other, and I can't have thickness added to them or they're not going to interact with each other properly. So we can't do that. And also, it'd just be the wrong color. With what I've read online, I need vinegar, I need zinc, I need sugar, and I need Epsom salts. So let's get started. From what I've read, I need to just put the vinegar in, let that sit with the zinc in it for 15 minutes, let the zinc dissolve in it some, and then I can move on with the Epsom salts, sugars, and then, well, get on to actual electroplating. Okay, I switched to a smaller container because the other one just felt way too oversized, so we're going to do this one. There's some stuff that might not fit, but there's a lot of small stuff we can start with anyway, so we're going to start with this small container and then move to a larger one if we need to. But let's let it sit for another 14 minutes and 30 seconds, and then we can put the Epsom salt and sugars in. So my understanding is the Epsom salt is to make it conductive, and then the sugar is to just help with making the go on evenly and shiny, so that's what these two are for. You can use normal salts from what I saw, but you have a chance of making chlorine gas, so we're going to use Epsom salt. 15 minutes, that's slightly discolored, so I'm assuming it's working. So now it's time to dissolve the, 5 tablespoons of sugar and 3 tablespoons of Epsom salt into here. I think that's right, I'll have to check. But let's start dumping stuff in randomly, because, I mean, who the hell's going to measure? I'm not. I think the solution's set up, and we're going to test that by just zinc coating a penny. Well, attempting to zinc coat a penny. So let's find out if it works. I'm just going to use a bench power supply to power it, and we'll see. It's supposed to take 30 minutes, so fuck that, we're moving on straight to the metal, because I don't have time for that. Okay, I'm going to start with this piece, because honestly, if it fucks it up, you're never going to see it, so. Ooh, yeah. That's sizzling. Let's let that coat. Ooh, it's bubbling. That's weird. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, let's pull this thing out and see what it looks like. We definitely got a coating, but it's not looking very even. I think I'm going to put more sugar in, because that's what it said made it even, so maybe I need more sugar in my actual mix, because that's, well, not very even. Just jumping in here, because apparently I forgot to record a clip of what was actually going on here. Basically, I had the positive and negative backwards. So basically, instead of zinc plating my steel, I was steel plating my zinc. Yeah, that doesn't work very well. Okay, I think it's about time we actually finish the marquee. So let's get the marquee, let's finish sanding it, and paint it. So let's do that. Okay, let's sand this thing here. Normally I'd use a power sander, but I'm afraid that'll take too much off or rip something off, and I'll have to start over again and put more putty on. So we're going to do this by hand, this final coat. Let's sand it by hand, get it perfectly smooth, and then we can get to painting this thing, which will be sick. I lied, I ended up using the power sander to get the high stuff down, and now to fully smooth it out, we're going to hand sand it. So, now, let's get to hand sanding. Alright, the top is perfectly smooth, but inside the letters there's still stuff, so we're going to use this little hand file and clean up the inside of the letters, make this thing finished, and ready for paint. Alrighty then, it is looking sick, which means it's ready to clean this off and paint it. We're going to do it the exact same way they did and put a base coat of white and then paint the red stripes on top of that. So let's get this cleaned up and ready for painting. And also measure out how far apart our red stripes are, or at least get an idea, so we can kind of space them out the correct distance. So with these, it actually should be pretty easy, I think. Oh, no, actually, it's really easy. It's every other one is red. Okay, yeah, that helps. Let's just make sure that lines up, though. Red, 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 red. Yup, red and red. Perfect. So, we can get this thing ready for painting. So I'm actually going to paint it first with a primer. This is a white primer, but we'll then put over white paint on top of this as well. But just because primer is good, we're going to use primer. So let's shake this bullshit up and put it on. Well, unfortunately, primer is where all of the imperfections show up. So we're going to need to put some red glazing putty over a lot of the different seams here that didn't come out perfectly smooth as they should have. So let's put some red glazing putty on all of these seams that look bad. While we wait for that to dry, let's start filling this. As you can see, there's definitely some bumps in this that, honestly, this is a lot worse than I thought it was when I bought the board. Probably should have went with a higher quality, but oh well. It's cut out now. So let's just kind of give this thing a nice large coating of wood filler to fill all these imperfections. I mean, to be fair, they probably used a similar board when they made it, but probably not quite this bad. So let's just kind of cover this pretty much completely in wood putty. Well, not completely, obviously, but you know, all the divots with wood putty. That's the word I'm looking for. Alright, it has been covered in peanut butter, I mean wood putty, but once it dries, we'll sand this down, and the only thing that'll be left is the putty and the divots. There'll probably still be some gaps, so we'll probably have to do a second coat at least, but it's looking better. Once it dries, obviously this would have been better to just completely use a better board, but I didn't realize how bad this one was, or I would have. We're gonna make do with what we got, so we're gonna make it work. Alright, now that it looks like we've dropped this entire thing in a bucket of peanut butter, we can let it dry. Okay, I lost some footage of actually painting this thing, but as you can see, it is painted. I used a white primer, and then I painted it with actual white paint. Then we taped it off, and painted the red lines, and that is looking so good. Like, actually, though. That looks amazing. Unfortunately, I got a chip paint right there, so I just gotta tape that off, and I'll repaint that white stripe, and we'll be good to go. That is awesome looking. Something like this, some people will make the mistake of just taping off a little section here and respraying that. The problem is, well, you're not going to get a smooth, even coat. You're going to notice that bump. So we're going to fully tape off and fully repaint this white line. And that is really the only way to get that to be not noticeable. Well, unless you want to put a lot of work into resanding and all that fun stuff after you paint. And there's no point in doing that. Now it's time to get all of this wood putty sanded off, so I'm going to go grab an orbital sander and start sanding. Probably is going to need another coat, but who really knows? We won't know until we sand it, so let's start sanding it. Okay, I moved it outside here because, well, sanding this stuff creates a lot of dust, and I was covering all of my machines in dust. So it has been fully sanded to 80 grit, which is pretty smooth. Whenever we're done, we'll fully sand it to 220 or whatever. But I'm going to add a little bit more to this crack here, just because, well, I don't like the look of that crack, so we're going to add some more to that. This side is good, except for right here where it was really bad. There's some spots that chipped out, so we're actually going to wood harden this, and then we're going to put more putty on it, but we're going to wood harden this first so it doesn't chip out any further. And then this side will be done. The rest of it is beautifully smooth, so that definitely worked, all except for right here where it was really bad. Okay, this side is now sanded. It took a lot of coats of putty to get that perfectly smooth, but it's smooth. This back here is smooth. I got rid of this seam. So it is looking awesome. It is looking ready for paint. But before we do that, we need to finish the front here because this is probably going to change the shape a little bit because if putty sticks out over, then I'm going to have to sand it down, and I can't do that if it's already painted. Okay, let's get this front panel done, and to do that we need to remove this doorbell, this knob, and pull out this drawer, which is attached via a spring, so I can't actually just pull it out. I got to disconnect all that fun stuff. So let's start and remove this doorbell. Oh shit, it's a long ass screw. Patented March 3rd, 25. So I'm guessing March 3rd, 1925. Damn. This was so stupidly fucking tight. Okay, so this side I couldn't get apart because they mushroomed the end out whenever they actually pressed it on, so it physically would not come off. The set screw did fuck all. This piece ended up breaking off trying to get it off using a puller, so we're gonna have to put that back on. That shouldn't be too big of a deal. And this end, the pin that actually goes through, my drill bit veered off and didn't actually drill through the pin apparently. So then I ended up just having to shear that pin off by pounding it through, just shearing off that metal pin. This is what the bolt looks like that I was using to pound it out with. Yeah, that is very destroyed. Oh my god. Now we gotta make this thing not completely bent up and destroyed. So now we gotta remove this the rest of the way and fix this. What could possibly go wrong here? Yep, that seems safe enough. Now let's remove that mushroom end off there. There we go. Perfect. Now we should be able to slide this off, Hell yeah. Now we can straighten this out and clean up that rod. That is looking sick. Very nice and shiny. Too bad you'll literally never see it once it's in the machine. Beautiful. Now this part here should be pretty easy. All we have to do is, well, bend it flat and then clean it up some, and we'll probably just paint this as well. I don't have enough zinc to re-zinc it, and I'm not 100% sure what coating it would have had on it originally, but we're just going to paint it silver. Is there better ways to straighten it? Probably. Does this work? Maybe. I don't actually know. We're going to find out. Ugh. Oh, fuck. I think we bent it too far. Okay, well, that worked damn well. That looks perfectly flat, so let's clean this thing up. And it's ready for paint. If you're wondering why I didn't sandblast it, it's because I'm out of sandblasting media and I don't want to go get more right now. So, let's throw some paint on this thing. God damn it. Just putting the slightest amount of pressure on this to push this pin out, like, literally barely put any pressure on it and it immediately just snapped the entire head off. Like, there's barely any metal holding it on after they drilled through there, so, god damn it. Now I have to get what's left of it out of this and out of this. Fuck. What the fuck? I was using the torch and everything to heat up the base here. Went to twist it out because it is a threaded rod. And it just fucking twisted off the fucking... That can't be steel, right? There's no way I just twisted off a steel rod. That has to be like some other metal, right? What the fuck? I'm so confused. The hell? God, that's fucking hot still. Well, I guess I gotta let it cool off and cut that off and just drill it out and retap it. God damn it, why can't shit ever go right? Okay, I've drilled out that hole, I've tapped that hole, I got this shiny metal rod that I also tapped. Just like that. That is looking sick. Now we just have to cut this thing to length, tap it, and we can twist the ball on it. I did manage to get the pin out of the ball and the old piece of thread. So, we should be able to just thread this on. I'm gonna get the thread pattern of this. This one here, I kind of guessed I should have done this one first, but doesn't really matter. I'll just make it so you can't reverse this rod, which hopefully nobody will ever do. I ended up retapping. Well, I ended up having to fully remake the rod because I tapped the top one way too small. I grabbed the wrong die accidentally somehow. But it is now fully together. All I have to do is then drill out these pins into my rod and put pins in. So that is looking awesome. What I think I'm going to do with this is I'm obviously going to make this nice and black again. But for the rest of this metal, I think I'm just going to chrome it. Well, not actually chrome it, but make it really goddamn shiny. So maybe clear coat it then to keep the shine, which I think should work pretty well. I've got the knob nice and mounted up with the pin in. So now it's time to put this giant pin in the middle. I should have done that before I did all this work to make it look beautiful, because we now have to do it without making this look, well, less beautiful, which is going to be difficult, because that's going to be a really goddamn tight fit. I think I lined up the hole. So let's use this arbor press and this microfiber to protect the face and just press this thing in, hopefully. As I said, hopefully. I mean, this is like, what, a half-ton arbor press, so it should. That is hard to get in. Wow. But it messed up the clear coat, so let's go polish this thing, polish off all that clear coat. And I don't know. I'll see if I want to clear coat it again, but I don't know. Let's just go polish it. That pin is in, so it's time to go polish all the clear coat that we put on off. It'll probably take off this paint, but we'll just repaint that. But let's go polish this up. It'll polish the pins we just put in and make this damage that we did to it polished again. So let's do that. That clear coat was really difficult to polish off, but it is off. It is good to go. Let's paint those black rings back in it, and I'm not going to clear coat it again. I'm sure there's some kind of product I can put on it. We'll see. But to be fair, just polished metal should resist corrosion pretty well. But we'll paint those rings back to black, and that should be done. With that, it is done. That is awesome looking. We need to make this front smooth. And to do that, we're going to obviously wood putty it, but yeah, we need to fill in all of these grooves, because there's a bunch of just missing chunks of wood, scratches, dings, dents, that all need to be smoothed out for paint. So let's get to putting wood putty on all of this. An absolute ton of peanut butter later, and it is coated. So let's let that dry, sand it, and then put a second coat on. This front is pretty much done. I've put so many coats of wood putty, and then spot putty to make it perfectly smooth, and then this corner wasn't good enough, so I had to put another coat on. Yay! But this front is almost done, so we're gonna have to get stencils made for this, and then we can make this all fancied and puttied. But while that putty's drying, we can throw the primer on this side. So I already taped off that. Let's throw some primer down and see if we need to putty anywhere else. And there it is. I'm not 100% sure I like all of these cracks in the wood. I mean, it makes it look like wood, but should I spot putty those? I'm not sure. If I spot putty them, then I could make them smooth, but also would this make it not look like wood and make it look not original? I don't know. And, well, that's it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Yes, this is the same clip from the beginning. I kind of forgot to record a second clip, so this is just that clip for longer. But this should make it so TikTok and YouTube are at the pretty much the same step, so now I can kind of upload them simultaneously to keep them up to date, because I would like to do that instead of uploading TikTok way before anything hits YouTube, because that's kind of annoying.